Yeah, more than some ink in a ledger. We the resurrection. 250 million strong, scattered in the wind. Listen, stripped from the mother, sailed on a ghost ship's whim. Built up the country, etched the stone with forced limbs. Dispossessed of the map, held in diaspora's cold. But the spirit in the marrow never did what it was told. Lost the mother tongue, the rights, the sacred name. Endured the force mixed breeding, the death and the flame. But we feeling the ethnogenesis, pulsing in the vein. Resurrecting the mind, taking back the heavy chain. They preaching rights while they holding back the bread. Systematic disfranchisement, keeping the path dead. But the blueprint is drawn, the truth is standing on its own. We Afro Descendant, reclaiming the mind we've always known. Repair the damage, we demand the respect. We demand the respect. Restore the independence that we fighting to get. Self-determination, yeah, we governing our own. Building up a nation, turning seeds into stone. True freedom and justice, equality, peace. The legacy of plantation slavery cease. From the US streets to the Santiago floor. Silas, Muhammad, Silas, Mohammed, take interventions to the door of the UN, screaming that we need our repair, screaming that we need our repair. Latin America to Harlem, the connection is there. They trying to flash a moral, lead to the earth, but ignoring the original since the moment of its birth. They trying to flash a moral, lead to the earth, but ignoring the original since the moment of its birth. We the inheritors, surviving through the dark, igniting the flame from a 400-year spark. Repair the damage, we demand the respect. We demand the respect. Restore the independence that we fighting to get. Self-determination, yeah, we governing our own. Building up a nation, turning seeds into stone. True freedom and justice, equality, peace. The legacy of plantation slavery cease. Peace and liberty, fair and just laws. Afro-descendant, we claim what is ours.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to our ADN Town Hall today. Today's theme is From Identity to Action. We're connecting Afro Descendants globally. So we're building on the momentum from our March Town Hall. Today we want to move from reflection into action, strengthening our global connections between Afro Descendants and Africans, and identifying some practical steps that we can take together. So our town hall today is all about connection, collaboration, and moving forward with purpose. So I'll give you a few updates on the ADN branches of the Afro Descendant Nation. So I'm going to share some information with you from the Senate Chair. He states that the Senate of the ADN extends its sincere gratitude for the expert testimony presented at the recent United Nations Forum. We offer a special recognition to the Honorable Silas Muhammad for his presence and to Queen Mashaki Muhammad for her continued work on behalf of Afro-descendant communities worldwide. We also acknowledge and thank all AFRI delegates whose participation and support helped advance our collective position. The Senate remains committed to strengthening its internal structure and operational effectiveness in order to meet responsibilities of a representative body serving a diverse range of Afro-descendant communities and organizations. And they are honored to have Senator Asika Brady, whose courage and commitment, along with her fresh and insightful perspectives, contribute meaningfully for understanding many of the challenges involved in fostering unity among our people. Also, in sharing a little bit from the Speaker of the House, she is new in her position and she's working diligently to strengthen its internal structure of the House and developing some standard operating procedures. Here in the executive branch, our focus remains on advancing the Afro Descendant identity, strengthening global connections, and moving forward with practical implementation. Again, like I said earlier, going from reflection to practical implementation. We're continuing to advance our international engagement as well and our recognition efforts, while also strengthening relationships and partnerships that support our collective goals. And one such partnership is here with our presenter today from Ghana. Our next phase is focused on moving from awareness into coordinated action. So creating opportunities for engagement, collaboration, and measurable impact. And as I stated here, our town hall, a part of that we're doing today. So we'll move into our featured presentation from our brother, Kojo, as he likes to be called. And what he's going to be presenting today directly aligns to our global connection and collaboration. It is an honor to introduce our presenter. He is an experienced heritage and tourism professional, has over 10 years of dedicated service as a senior site educator at the Elmina Castle in Ghana, one of the most significant historical sites connected to the transatlantic slave trade. He's deeply passionate about heritage interpretation and cultural preservation, providing transformative educational experiences for visitors from around the world. And he has a strong background with a master's in science, Master of Science in Hospitality and Tourism Management Studies, and he has a Bachelor of Arts in Economics. So he brings to us both knowledge and some practical expertise. And he leads educational tours, develops interpretive programs, and contributes to research and documentation on the history of the transatlantic slave trade. So please help me and join me in welcoming our presenter today, Kojo.
It is indeed my honor and pleasure to continue to build the momentum from our March Town Hall meeting. Again, before I proceed, I would like to share my slides so that we can kick from there.
You should have access.
Yes.
We can see them now.
Okay, thank you. So, as Dr. Akila introduced me, I prefer to be called Kojo, which gives me a personal identity as a Ghanaian and as African. Though you may see a name Frederick Manson. Frederick is a name given to me by my parents, which I have no option than to carry it along. But when I grew up, I identify myself as a Ghanaian, and based on where I work as a historical site guide, I prefer to give myself an identity. And this aligns with our presentation today, from identity to action, connecting Afrodescendant globally. As we are going to see from today's presentation, we ask ourselves, what are you going to see today? Table of content, global recognition of Afrodescendants, why recognition matters, connecting Africa and Afrodescendants, the current gap, building unity through heritage, identity, and global unity. Under 8, we are going to see advocacy and mutual benefit, practical steps forward. And again, I will have the privilege to still recommend the books that I shared with you during our last presentation, which more information will be shared with you on that. Now, to begin with, we start with the main. What is global recognition? Global recognition of Afro Descendant is very, very critical because that is a movement for human rights, reparatory justice, and sustainable development. This seeks to acknowledge the over 200 million people in the Americas and millions more worldwide who represent a distinct group with a shared heritage, often shaped by the legacies of enslavement. Why is this necessary? It is necessary because today we are living in a time of renewed global focus on identity and belonging. Two, Afro-descendants across the world are seeking deeper connections to their root. So you can see that as a side guide, I've had a privilege to receive countless of Afro-descendants visiting the slave dungeons. And when they come, they are so proud to make that journey, which to them they call it a pilgrimage, for them to connect and heal. Third, this creates a unique opportunity to transform history into meaningful collaboration. Now, one asks, why recognition matters? This is very important because recognition influences several things and becomes the fundamental starting point for dismantling systematic racism, addressing historical injustice, and ensuring the protection of human rights for equality. And this can be achieved in three ways. One is policy. Why policy? Because it strengthens identity. Two is inclusion. How? Because it brings dignity and collective pride. And three, access to opportunities. That is economic potential across tourism, business, and culture. Then we move. Connecting Africa and Afrodescendants. We can see indeed the African map over there. Connecting Africa and Afrodescendants. The connection between Africa and its Afrodescendants comprises over 200 million people globally. Is essential for the continent's socioeconomic, political, and cultural development. Why is this important? For this, one, a shared history is rooted in resilience, movement, and survival. There is a strong cultural continuities across food, music, spirituality, and traditions. And three, an emotional desire among Afro-descendant communities to reconnect and rediscover themselves. And that is why, as I reiterated earlier, many of Afro-descendants are now making a pilgrimage to Africa and to the dungeons to reconnect themselves as they try to heal and process and see their way forward. Then we ask ourselves, what is the current gap? Africa's distance from its Afro-descendants stems from a combination of historical, infrastructure, and political challenges, including a limited formal institutional framework that reflects a complex mix of historical disruptions, fragile institutional connections, and uneven economic growth. We can also elaborate this in three ways. One, engagement between Africa and the Afro-descendant communities remains fragmented. Two, many Afro-descendant individuals lack trusted pathways to connect with Africa. Three, tourism, investment, and cultural exchange opportunities are underutilized. Now, this is where we delve deeper now. Building unity through heritage, identity, and global opportunity. How can you do this? And how can this be achieved? You look at it in several ways. One is advocacy and mutual benefit. How? Let's delve deeper. The first point is a unified voice can amplify global Afro-descendant representation. How can this be achieved? When Afro-descendant communities across regions speak collectively, their influence in global decision-making space becomes stronger. We may have some few examples. Let's look at two. Coordinated advocacy at international platforms like United Nations forums, where Afro-descendant groups push for policies on racial justice and equity. And I have had the privilege to talk to Dr. Sheila, who is the president of Afro Descendant Nation, who has had several opportunities to represent our nation on several platforms pushing for this, which indeed is a good step. Two, global movements such as Black Lives Matter that bring attention to systematic racism across multiple countries. We also saw some few years back what happened. This movement began to spread globally, though there has been some concerns that maybe some of these Europeans were in support or were sponsoring it. But the good news is this: it brought attention globally to systematic racism across multiple countries. And that is the positive part that you want to look at it. Two, Collaboration strengthens cultural diplomacy and influences. How can this also be achieved? Working together across borders enhances the global visibility and appreciation of Afro-descendant cultures. Let's look at two examples. Cultural exchanges through music, film, and art involving global icons like Burna Boy or Beyoncé, who blend African and Afro-descendant influences. Let me come down to this and explain better. Even in Ghana, about 2 years ago, there was even a collaboration between a Ghanaian musician called Shattawale with Beyoncé, which indeed there was a strong vibe around it in the whole of Ghana and some African countries where they praised that collaboration, and that is where we are looking at. Indeed, you can talk of films, Black Panther, where a lady from Kenya had a critical role. Some Africans were involved together with Afro-descendant people, and that is where we are looking at the cultural exchanges through music can also bring people together. Again, we have international festivals and exhibitions that showcase Afro-descendant heritage and creativity. When you come to Ghana, you have what is called Afrofuture. And Afrofuture is a global music festival in Ghana, which is celebrated every year in the month of December. And during such festival, Afro Festival, many people, diasporans, which includes Afro-descendants, Africans, other people, all make it their way to Ghana, where the culture is showcased over there. We have Essence Festival in New Orleans, which is also, again, a very global festival they're talking about. We have National Museum of African History and Culture. That also places much emphasis on exhibitions that depicts the history, which many people of African descendant or maybe Afro-descendant people go there to learn and to appreciate the exhibition of our culture and history and that connection. Again, we move to the third point, mutual growth through shared resources and networks. Collaboration like Afro-descendant community to pool knowledge, skills, and resources for collective advancement. Let's look at two examples. Professional networks like linking Afro-descendant experts with local institutions, for instance, doctors, engineers, educators, contribute skills back home. And this is happening many a time, where we see Afro-descendant communities organize themselves, coming to some of the African countries where they share the knowledge, they share their skills, and that's a very good thing that we are appreciating today. Indeed, there's regional trade and business collaboration among African and Caribbean countries. We can talk of AfTA. AfTA is we are talking about African free trade, yes. And CARICOM MOU signed in 2022 to boost trade, investment, and travel. Indeed, we can look at that. We have seen that part. Then we also move to the next slide. Practical steps forward. That is the main presentation that you're looking at. What are your thoughts? I will take my time to elaborate this very well because it's one. It's develop structured programs for Afro-descendant and African through exchange and collaboration. So what exchanges are you looking at? Practical examples. Exchange initiatives similar to study abroad or fellowship programs supported by institutions and organizations like universities. In Ghana, for instance, there can be several exchange programs between universities and some of the universities in America, where the subject of Black history or history of our people, students are being brought to Ghana through the universities. They take them to the communities, have the privilege to learn more about our root. We have cultural immersion programs linked to events such as Panafest. Panafest means Pan-African Historical Theater Festival. And this festival was initiated around 1992. And every year or every 2 years it is organized, where we see many Afro-descendant people, organized groups, all to Ghana. And doing a lot of programs are lined up, which talks about the slave route, the slave river, the connection to the slave dungeons. So it gave them the opportunity to connect, to learn, and to begin to process. So that helped them to appreciate. So that strong collaboration is very, very necessary between universities over there and some universities in Ghana. So our younger kids growing up, even adults, would have the privilege to learn the history and appreciate. And these issues that examples that I've cited, indeed, people are appreciating it, especially Panafest, which when they come in the communities, they have the opportunity to enter the communities, learn some of our local craft, our traditions, and everything, which helps them to connect themselves better. Let's move to the second point. We talk about use digital platforms to strengthen global connections across communities. Indeed, what can this be achieved? Let's look at some examples. Online communities using platforms such as LinkedIn, which we all know is a professional network, or Zoom to host webinars, mentorship sessions, networking events, initiatives similar to study abroad, or programs supported by institutions, or maybe the African Union can also support it. Indeed, today we live in a global village. And once you live in a global village, you don't want to limit ourselves to our traditional way of doing things. So some of these opportunities, some of these platforms can be used to make connections, help people to understand the history, the culture, and the need, as we are doing today. This is Zoom. We have connected ourselves, despite where one may be coming from, sharing this presentation and discussion so we know how to move our. So they make use of technology, digital platforms. I'm sure this is being recorded, it's going to be shared, people are going to learn, people are going to hear, and that will bring us together. No matter where we lived or no matter where we are coming from, we are coming together as one people, as one nation to move forward. We have digital storytelling through platforms such as YouTube to share the history, culture, and experiences. Indeed, we need to appreciate that. We also go to the next point, the third one, promote authentic cultural and heritage travel experience that build understanding. For example, guided educational tours to sites such as Cape Coast or Elmina Castle will help us to appreciate our historical context. And doing that, dialogue sessions can also be achieved. This is very, you may have read so much in books, but coming in person for that experiences will help us to appreciate our culture, our heritage, and that will build the understanding together. So,
okay, yeah, no worries. Okay,
can I continue?
Yes, Kojo, I muted the person. Thank you.
You're welcome. So indeed, and we last week in the March town hall program, we elaborated much about Elmina slave dungeon. We saw photographs of the dungeons. We took you through some of the virtual areas that we needed to see. So when these guided educational trips are organized for people to connect themselves to the dungeons where enslaved Africans were shipped from, it will help them to understand the historical context very well. And doing such, there will be some discussions or dialogue discussions that will help us to appreciate our history, and that will encourage us to promote our heritage better. That brings understanding. At the same time, too, community-led tourism experience where visitors engage in local traditions, craft, and storytelling. So sometimes most of these organizations would come, indeed, because of the connection with some of the universities or some of the people in the community, where they go to the community, learns our traditions such as cooking, the way we dress, the craft, the storytelling for them to understand and to appreciate oral history so that we can all build understanding. The next one is build long-term partnership between African and Afro-descendant organization institutions. This is very important because partnership between African institutions and global bodies like UNESCO. When I say UNESCO, I refer to United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization on Cultural Preservation Project. Again, there should be a collaboration between non-government organizations, universities, and private sector across Africa and the diaspora. And that will help us to indeed appreciate our shared history. That will help us to do everything possible to preserve our history. That will help us to have a common understanding and to move beyond that. One may ask, the 4 steps outlined or stated, one may ask, how can these be achieved? There are several ways that we can look at it. But one way to achieve this is through a company called Own Heritage Tours. This is a company based in Ghana, which serves as a bridge between Africa and the diaspora through curated experiences that people want to come to Ghana, see the dungeons as we have stated. Again, they also design journeys that go beyond tourism into identity and reconnection and create platforms for cultural exchanges, storytelling, and collaboration by being like a mediator to the university and to Afro Descendant Nation. So that some of these can be achieved through ONHED because they are all in Ghana. It will be easier for them to be connected to achieve this. Call to action. The time to move from conversation to action is now. Let us all co-create pilot programs, measurable initiatives. Together, we can build sustainable and meaningful global connections. Together, we can achieve this. Indeed, I want to take people to share, to connect. These are the website of Own Heritage, the email, the phone number, social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of them are being shared to you on our screen, which indeed conversations can begin with them. So if anybody want to take it from there, you can reach them through this. In our March presentations, some recommendations were made, and I'm taking the privilege to recommend them again. One, these books were recommended because they are books recommended to help us to identify ourselves as Afro-descendants, to appreciate our shared history, to appreciate what we have, and to give us identity. One is called Echoes from the Motherland, and this book contains 5 hours, which means the 5 hours as the blueprint of the book. That is, remember, return, repair, restore our identity. And another one is called A Cry and the Lamentation from Ancestors, Chronicles from Africa's Untold Stories. And the authors of these 2 books are Ghanaians. Some of them were once educational guys at Elmina Castle, but today they are no more there, more than 2 decades of experiences. And they did extensive research because they said they want our shared history to be projected globally. And that is why these books are recommended. We had other ones called Indigenous Slavery in Ghana. This book brings clarity to the narrative, whether Africans sold their own people or not, written by a renowned female professor, Akosua Domapebi, who has taught history to several international and Ghanaian and African students. And that was called Elmina Slave Dungeon and the Slave Trade, which give an in-depth knowledge about all the details that one needs to know about Elmina Slave Dungeon. And the final one is called Shackles in Darkness, which is a handbook for people to appreciate the history of Elmina Dungeon and slavery. And this one is a flight drive. It's a video documentary of the tour of Elmina Slave Dungeon and Cape Coast Dungeon. So if someone could not come in person and want to have the experience of the dungeons, this is a video documentary for you to watch. Insert into your computer, and you can be watching to appreciate the history of the dungeons. Indeed, so this is where our presentation officially ends.
Thank you, Kojo. Let's show him some love in the chat, you all, with the reactions. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that powerful and informative presentation that you gave, and definitely appreciate you partnering with us. This has been a really good experience thus far, and I know that you and we stay in contact with each other, and I just really appreciate that you're so willing to develop the relationship with us as Afro descendants. So I would like to share just a little clarity around something. As we move forward, we're referring to Africa and the African diaspora broadly, while we're still recognizing our distinct identity and experience as Afro descendant peoples, because the diaspora includes Afro descendants, who are us, those descendants of ancestors who went through chattel enslavement. And it also includes those who have perhaps migrated or been displaced from Africa for some other. So that is the African diaspora. And I think it's better if we when we refer to the diaspora is to say the African diaspora, because other people have diasporas as well. We will now open the floor for a few questions related to the presentation. And right now, I would like to start with our young people or any youth that are on. I'm going to ask Ambassador Sheila to begin because I wanted her to share some information about our experience at the UN as well. Excuse me, Ambassador Sheila in Portuguese
Yes.
instead of Sheila in English. We learned that while we were at the UN this year.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
You are welcome. So, good afternoon for you who are in the US, because I'm based in Germany. For me, it's the evening, so it's almost 10 p.m. I'm glad to be here, to be a part of this organization, Afro Descendant Nation. Thank you, Kojo, for the historical background. The second time that we meet you, and you are bring clarity about the Ghana on the continent. So I am an ambassador of the Afro Descendant Nation, right? More or less representing Brazil, trying to bring the awareness about our identity, our collective identity. I was at the UN, it was 3 weeks ago, on April, 4 days we were there, to bring recommendations regard to the Afro Descendants throughout the diaspora. And of course, there were some members of the continent also bring their inputs. And for me, it was the first experience that I had going to the UN and even work on this level, societal organizations. So from the US, from Brazil, from Colombia, Ecuador, Bahamas, different people from the diaspora. The experience was powerful. I saw what I could see there, although we were together, right, bringing recommendations. So because we all go through certain problems or the same problems within the countries where our ancestors were sent, right, and where normally we are, or where we grew up, or we are bonded to a certain point. And for me, it was very important to understand on which point people are, what they are trying to reclaim, or what they want as Afro-descendants, right? And what I could acknowledge, and for me, it was very, very important because I really can understand the main language of the diaspora. So my mother tongue, I would say, I always use my colonial mother tongue, is Portuguese. English, I understand very well. This is how I move politically, using English, yes. Spanish also, I understand very well, and French. And what I could realize, so I didn't need any translation once people were talking about their what they were fighting for there, that there is a huge disconnection. And I divide the Afro-descendants through the language that they speak. Yeah? So I always say the English-speaking Afro-descendants, the Portuguese-speaking Afro-descendants, just one country in the Americas, and the Spanish-speaking Afro-descendants. So there are a lot of countries. So if we take from Mexico until Argentina, what I saw there, for example, the English-speaking Afro-descendants, they have an agenda, and it's reparation. It's very good. Yes. All organizations, they were there talking about reparation. This is the main agenda of the English-speaking Afro-descendants. The Spanish-speaking Afro-descendants, they just Mexico, there were from Mexico, I could see some Afro-descendants there. The other countries, for example, Cuba or Venezuela, where the population of Afro-descendants is also high, Colombia, they weren't there, right? The representative of the Afro-descendants, that they were the white people from these respective countries, what is very problematic. So Afro-descendants in the Spanish-speaking countries, they even don't have a voice to represent themselves, to go to the UN, to talk about their own problems. So just Mexico was there, representing exclusively Mexico, and women, even not talking about Afro-descendant as a collective. They were just talking about the women suffering. What we know that it's a fact, but if we are a people, we have to recognize that as a people, we are women, men, children, elder, young people, middle age, right? The Portuguese-speaking people from the country where I was born, they are fighting for financial integration, let's say in this way. It's very new that Black Brazilians, they have access to higher education or certain positions in the society, in the government is very low, the participation. So their main fight is to participate within the system there in Brazil. They even don't talk about a connection with Afro-descendants everywhere. They are fighting for their own problems within that country, and it is financial integration, I would say. Not society integration, because in Brazil, we never went through Jim Crow or segregation or kind of system like that officially, although it exists. But there is a small integration where people are having the opportunity to go to high education, and this is their main agenda. And what I see, although certain countries, they use the term Afro-descendant, but they don't use the way or with the definition that we from the Afro Descendant Nation use. And this is what I think we should work on to galvanize people, so make them understand that we share the same history, we have the same oppressors, right? And to make people think outside this box of nations. So I am a Brazilian, Afro-Brazilian, Afro-Colombia, or Afro this or that, and bringing people to understand our collective identity under the definition of the Afro-descendants, because people, they talk, they are Afro-descendants, but it's not connecting past, present, and of course not future. The fight is somehow individual, connect to the countries, but not as a collective. And we are more than 200 million people. And once you understand that, we really can achieve a lot on the continent, in the Americas, I mean, and in partnership with the continent of Africa. This is what I would like to share with you.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Sheila. I really appreciate that. And did you have a question for Kojo? I know you provided comments at the beginning. If you have a question for him as well, or no?
Yes, I have a question. I don't want to create polemics, but it's very important to tell. So, living abroad in Europe, I'm a seeker of truth, and I really try to understand what's going on in the world, and I seek for different information on different sources, right? And I'm really following what is going on in the world right now. So third world, I call tribal war. It is what the United States and Europe, they are trying to do to destroy the world. Of course, I'm following the claim of Ghana as a nation, about the nations, yes, for Africans, generally saying. But on the other hand, following that, because for me, there are topics that are very important. For example, about the Ghana claiming slavery as a crime in the world. I agree with that, and I must say, as a nation, because we, as people, Afro-descendants, we don't have our own nation. We don't operate as a nation, right? It is very important to have this kind of partnership. But on the same day that the president of Ghana came with this claim, on the same day, the government of Ghana was signing a deal with the same European Union that positioned themselves as neutral. Yes, they didn't vote against, and of course, not in favor of this claim. And I think it's very problematic. It's not that you have something to do with that, but how we can trust everything, right? Because on our hand, we talk about the gravest crime in humanity. On the other hand, on the same day, they are signing a deal with the same Europeans who enslaved us, colonized the continent of Africa, and even don't recognize that what they practiced was morally wrong. I'm not expect that they do that, because no one who is a criminal will give proofs against themselves. But what are you doing? It would be my if you have insider information about that, for example.
Thank you, Ambassador Sheila. To be honest, sometimes some of these issues you do not when some of these issues are happening, because on one stand you were claiming or declared you fought for slavery to be declared as a heinous crime against humanity, mobilized African countries, mobilized CARICOM communities to join in making sure that this is achieved. Unfortunately,
Can you see how many people are online?
can you see?
If you're
Unfor-
not speaking, can you close your mic, please? Thank you. Go ahead, Kojo.
Unfortunately, some few days a deal is behind. I do not have inside information about it because some of the issues you may not be privy to because it's an inside information. But the good news also ahead is that even in US requested for a data from Ghana, and the Ghana government also stood on her toes not to share that data because of the conditions attached to it, which indeed most Ghanaians have applauded that initiative from the government of Ghana, not to be on that level because they are requesting for a data for Ghanaians, of which they are going to also give some amount to Ghanaians. At the same time, they may also request an amount from Ghanaians, and that data, it means, is going to be shared about all the population of Ghana for a certain period of time. And it's heart aid or something. And the government of Ghana stood on its toes. So this is why coming together as Afro Descendant Nation and as Africans to bridge that gap will help us at what can we do to take it there to make sure that when all of us are included in the discussions, I think some of these issues can be averted. Thank you.
Thank you also for your honesty. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much again, Ambassador Sheila and Kojo. Thank you for responding as well. My sister Amatula, thank you so much for your patience and waiting. I see your hand is up. Go right ahead to ask your question.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for this
You're welcome.
invitation. I wanted to talk to Mr. Kojo. I wanted to ask him, you speak of the, but what city are you in? Because the is Accra in Ghana. For Kojo. Can you hear me?
Kojo, your mic is closed, Kojo.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Ghana, Accra is the capital town of Ghana. Indeed, that's the main city. We have 16 regions in Ghana. Each region has a capital town. As we speak, I am in Central region, and our capital city is Cape Coast. And Cape Coast is close to Elmina. So it's about 20 minutes drive from Cape Coast to Elmina. So I am currently in Elmina, but I am close to the city of Cape Coast, which is a capital town for Central region.
And the reason why I was asking is because I will be traveling to Ghana the end of this month, but I'm actually going to be Accra, so I'm not really sure how far that is from you right now.
Yeah, so from Cape Coast to Accra is about 2 to 3 hours drive. So if indeed you want to come together, you may need me. You can reach out to me with my contact. Dr. Akila will share on the platform.
Okay.
And that company, the own heritage tours, I also work closely with them. So you can reach us to us, and all the necessary assistance that you need can be offered to you. Thank you
so much.
You're welcome.
Wonderful. You're going to enjoy Ghana.
Yes, I hope so. Yes, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. And Kojo, I think it did take us about 3 hours on the charter bus to get there from Accra.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I think because
you're
of the
right.
yes,
Yeah, the
so
road's terrible.
they are working on the road. So
Yes.
initially it is 2 hours, but now you have to spend between 2 to 4 hours because of the road
Yes.
construction. We are hoping that by the end of the year, there should be an improvement with the road. But that is one of the major roads, ECOWAS road. So it needs to be improved.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. You're
Welcome.
welcome. Does anyone else have a question or comment for Kojo? No one? I don't see any hands. Does anybody see any hands raised? Oh, Aisha?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I wanted to ask Brother Kojo. I did recently hear something about Ghana offering citizenship to, I think, any African person from any African country or something like that. They were saying, let's have like a more or less open border for people who are from the continent of Africa, something like that, if I'm not mistaken. And I wanted to find out, I also heard something about citizenship or dual citizenship being offered to, I guess, like Black people from America or Afro descendants from America. And I wanted to find out, like, what your take is on that, and what do you think about that? Thank you.
So thank you for this question, and I appreciate you so much. Indeed, there is a program like that where Afro-descendants globally who connect themselves to Ghana want to be part of the country are being given that privilege of citizenship, which is had a lot of process that one has to go before. To be honest, I've never taken the form to read through the details of the processes, but I will begin to do more to make a follow-up and see what are the criteria that one needs to meet that condition for in order for you to obtain your citizenship. So I can share with you. So again, I will share my contact again, and when I share my contact with you, you will reach out to me. When I get to the bottom of the details of the whole thing, I would love to share. Indeed, it is happening in Ghana. They are doing it. But as to the conditions, the criteria is what I have to also work hard to get it for you. It is happening. Thank you.
Thank you for that question as well, Aisha, and thank you, Kojo, for the response. Are there any other questions or comments?
Yes, I just wanted to note, my experience, and
Yes,
I've
go
been
ahead.
following, yeah, I've been following the citizenship question since 97 in Ghana, and it's very inconsistent. And so, although it may say one thing on paper, actually getting citizenship in Ghana is quite difficult. And so it's a work in progress, of course, and we got to keep pushing the administration on this, whoever's in power, NDC or NPP. But as it stands now, it's very inconsistent. As for open borders, that's a long way off, but that's also, I think, a dream of us Pan-Africanists that we do have open borders in Africa.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Brother Shabazz. Let me see if I see any other hands raised that I'm missing. Anyone else have a question or a comment?
I don't have a question,
Okay.
but I was going to comment and just say thank you for the presentation. And do you all do group trips? If there was a group of young people that wanted to get to Ghana and start that level of exploration, how would you best suggest that occurs?
So based on the website that I share with you, when you go to they have what is called Afro Education tours organized for young people who are interested in coming to Ghana to connect themselves to the history, to have the identity, to have the healing processes, and to learn as we are discussing. So the Afro Education package is there, which indeed the details of it are all over there. So if it's a group, whether student, whether adult, we are open to receive anyone to make sure that our goal of Afro Descendant Nation, our goal of coming together as one people, our goal of a shared identity and history can also.
Thank you. And more specifically, so would you say that this is a tour that would be available to youth under the age of 18?
Yes, please. Every category of youth.
Okay, thank you.
15, 18, 20, 30, 40, everybody. Oh,
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you
This is
for
Brother
the
Shabazz again.
question, Juliet.
I was going to add that we
Give
also
me,
lead.
Brother Shabazz,
Okay,
give
yeah,
me just one moment. Please, someone else has their hand raised, and then you can come right back, okay?
absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Good evening, everybody. And I was gonna make a comment what Brother Shabazz was talking about in reference to citizenship. I'm in Ghana too. I'm up near the coastal border. But there's a petition that the Afro-descendant people that's already here is pushing the petition because they charging 25,000 Ghana CDs for every when you make an application for citizenship. then you got to pay 25,000, and even if it don't get approved, you done lost that 25,000 Ghana cedis. And so there's a petition that the group is pushing to get signatures to take to John Muhammad to get this thing rectified, get it done the right way. With the purpose of this meeting, I thought that it was a good idea of trying to unite the global African people in some form. So I kind of wanted to, because I've been working on this thing for a while, and I had created the image of Eve, from Adam and Eve. And it's a 9-foot structure, 9 feet tall, and it has all of the different tribes in Ghana, which it comes up to 330 some tribes. And in addition to that, we had looked at all the tribes across Africa, and it was like 2,200 different tribes. And then what we had envisioned was putting it on in the body of Eve. So in our figure, where you have all these different body parts. So like if you was to look, I sent a copy of the image to the Dr. Makura, Keila Makura. I sent a copy. If you was to look at it, you would see how the all the people is represented. And then we looked at using AI if we would get these in each school, well, we have a global African curriculum, because to unite all the Africans across the world, we got to do it through the youth and through the schools. And so we had focused on that, and then we saw that with AI and the robots, you could build a robot that whenever you touch a tribe on this figure with all these different tribes on it, it would speak their language, but you could translate it. It would also translate into a language where we could all understand. So with that, we was looking at China. China was building all these humanoid robots, and so like. Say you touch the thumb might bring up the Akan people or the Ashanti people, and then it's going to give you a background of that tribe, and it'll speak, and you can translate that language to another language if somebody coming from Botswana. But the thing was to have a universal or global African curriculum, because if you look at the curriculum that Ghana uses a curriculum that's enforced by the British. In other words, you got kids now learning about Romeo and Juliet, and nothing about Africa. In the school right this very day. They don't have nothing about learning about Africa in the curriculum. And so that same group that's doing the petition, I say the Afro Descendants here, that's on the ground here, that's been living here for a while, they've been trying to get curriculum, and it's an African-centered curriculum, but they're having a whole lot of resistance. But when you think about it, if there was one global education system with the same curriculum to all the kids, all the African youth, that would be a way to unite us. And with that, I'm going to say thank y'all and take my hand down.
Thank you. Thank you, Curtis. I appreciate you sharing that information. I don't see anything from you in my email. You said that you sent something to me, so I don't see it. Where'd you send it to?
I sent it yesterday, the day before yesterday. Curtis.
Okay. I don't see anything yet. So could you just double check, and then I'll double check as well before I get off the call. Thank you so much.
All right.
Kojo, did you want to respond or have anything to say concerning that, or did we lose Kojo?
The question, if that was to me.
Excuse me?
Was that a question to me?
No, I was asking Kojo if he wanted to respond to anything that you said. Yes.
Okay.
Kojo, if you're talking, your mic is closed.
$2,500 is being charged. It's being charged. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yes.
Yeah, so as I said, just about 2 days ago, I received a petition, similar petition from a colleague whom I did my program, my master's with at the University of Mid Florida. And in the petition, when I read it, I saw that indeed 25,000 Ghana cedis, which is about 2,500, is being charged for anybody applying for citizenship. And when you are unable to pay, you may lose that amount of money. So he shared it to me for me to sign, to add to the numbers as they try to petition the president of Ghana for it to be rectified. Because indeed, if you have made that both, if Ghana is being declared as a country receiving Afro-descendants here, where the year of return achieved a greater purpose in 2019. And since then, many people are coming back home. And even when it comes to Central region where I live, there is a community called Asebo, where Afro-descendants, a land has been given for them to build their community of their own. If indeed all this is being done to welcome them home, why such an amount? So indeed, I received the same petition, which is indeed unfortunate. So you're going to add our voice to it, to put forward, and to make sure that it reaches the foreign minister, and again, it reaches the president of Ghana, and see what can be done about it. Indeed, I also share with my boss, who is my head of institution, because of where we work in tourism, to also add their voice to it. Again, with the school curriculum, I want to share light on it. For several years back, indeed, our colonizer, that's the British type of history that we'll be studying. But the good news is there's some few years, about 5 years or maybe less than 7 years or 5 years, the school curriculum is being changed, is being redesigned so that we can have our own history being inculcated in it for the kids, younger kids to grow and to know. So now we see most Ghanaian children visited the dungeon because it's part of the school curriculum, which indeed is a very positive thing, of which we are hoping that going forward, more curriculum will be designed to fit our original history into our historical books. So our kids will go to appreciate, own it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kojo. I also want to, because I was interrupted a little bit when I was thanking Lily X for her question that she had. I thought that was a great question. I'm looking forward to see what comes out of that in terms of the youth travel, their group travel there.
That's good. Thank you.
You're welcome. And again, thank you, Curtis, as well, for your comments. And Brother Shabazz, you wanted to say something else. You can go right ahead.
Yes, beloved. I was just going to add that we also do study abroad trips and trips to Ghana, Ghana. Let's see, we've been to Togo, Benin, and South Africa, and Senegal, and the Gambia. So we'd be happy to help out too with that. I left my number on the chat there.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you so much. And,
Thank you.
and where are you located?
I'm a professor at Southwestern College in San Diego,
Okay.
Chula Vista, San Diego.
Okay, nice. Thank you so much. Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
beloved.
You're welcome. Anyone else have a question or a comment? We're open for Q&A. And I don't see anything in the chat.
I did come in late. I'm just wondering, is there a next step for the sister city part of the story? Is there a program coming up
For the sister city?
Is that a different project? Because I got the email. I thought the email was about the sister city relationship between San Diego and Ghana. Is that a different program?
That because I haven't heard of it. So
Okay.
that's definitely not this one. Yes.
My
But I would like
apologies.
to hear about it.
Okay. I can send you a link for it.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Okay, Curtis, can you send it to okay, I see where you sent it, so that's why I haven't gotten it. Okay, send it to, I'm gonna put it in the chat. Make sure I spelled it right. Oops, left one thing out. All right, so that's it. That I just put in the chat there for you.
I'm trying to find it.
All right, so let's see. If there are no more questions or comments, we will.
I do have a question. I'm sorry. My hand is brown. It blended
Oh,
in.
okay. Can't see it. No
But
problem. Go ahead.
I did want to ask, about the efforts that are happening so that we can reclaim our mother tongue. Are there any collective efforts that are occurring so that that can happen on a larger scale for the group of us? And then the other part, when I attend, so this is like a kind of like a statement, and I'm seeking guidance, I guess, because Ambassador Sheila did mention this as well, or something similar to this. When I attend the reparations forums here now in New York, there's a lot of disjointment. People have different ideas about reparations, and I've heard a person say that we have to cause our own reparations, which it doesn't make any sense to me, but someone does see that as a viable. I've heard a number of people say that as a viable remedy for the injured party to cause their own reparation. So I just wanted to find out, what exactly should we be saying and imparting to others as what are our real reparations that we're seeking? Because I feel like our mother tongue should be part of that, and I would like to know what the actionable steps are in order to achieve that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the question, which is an excellent question. So, in the Afro Descendant Nation, we are working on organizing the organizations, and I'm also working with the National Reparations Leadership Assembly in growing and aligning the reparations movement, which I feel aligns with organizing the organization. So, in getting that together, us coming together with our voice together and just making a decision on what reparations is going to look like for us. And so my years are getting mixed up now, but uh, anyway, we worked on a strategic reparations plan, and I sent that out last January to my cabinet to take a look at. And but during the time, a lot had surfaced, so I've resurfaced it, and we are going to take a look at that and pull together some uh, organizations and people to also take a look at it, and be able to get some feedback, because we need to come up with a comprehensive strategic reparations plan for us, which that would be included. My work with the Chicago Reparations Task Force, I'm a co-lead of the education team. And in that education team, that is something that we have put into but that's on a local level, which we know that reparations for us as a people is more than on the local level. To kind of clarify right now, it hasn't been completely done. However, that is something that will be in the works, and I hope that you will be included in that work as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. And any organizations that you feel would be good to assist us with that, if you can try working to get us connected, that would be great as well, because we need to make sure that we are connected. Thank you. Thank you for your question. Seems like I missed one of them. Was it one more question as well?
It was mainly about mother tongue,
Okay.
because as far as like I have been actively encouraging my children to go on Duolingo and
Mhm.
learn different languages, and one of them had to be Arabic. So I don't know
Okay.
what we're considering to be our mother tongue that we're collectively claiming.
Well, we can decide on that together, and it's probably going to be multiple. So, but yes, the first thing is us coming together and making a collective decision as people. So I'll look forward to hearing from you so that we can kind of get maybe get started on pulling those organizations together because I do need some help with that.
I'd like to speak on that issue.
Yes, Curtis, go right ahead.
It was maybe 4 or 5 years ago, that issue about the mother tongue, we was working on that issue. And so we had decided that Swahili was the best language, African language to use it globally. And it was because of the groups out of Africa, which was one of the biggest group, that language, which is influenced by Swahili, is a connection to Swahili, and it's able to be. You say the original one was Swahili, and then so many of them built, made some adjustments, but it was off of Swahili. So I had started trying to even learn Swahili. But back then it wasn't difficult, but I got sidetracked with an injury. But I had to go in the hospital.
Yes, sir. Thank you for sharing that. I did try for a while learning Swahili too, several years ago. I can't remember exactly what happened. I guess life just got busy and we didn't have the classes anymore with the person that was conducting them at the time. So anyone else have a question or comment for Kojo?
I want to say something. There are two questions in the chat. One is from Hamza Maya Hadi, I think. No, it's not Maya Hadi. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So does the Afro Descendant Nation have any traction in the nation Benin? It has opened its doors for Afro Descendant citizenship. It is so I wouldn't say that we necessarily have any traction. We have been in communication with someone from Benin. Ambassador Sheila, would you like to share, because you shared some information for her at the UN?
Oh no, Benin. Benin is something connected to cultural giving back or not the Benin bronzes. It's another issue, but it's not connected to citizenship or something like that. What I heard that they also have a program that they are open to receive Afro descendants once people have their DNA connecting to Benin. But more or less, I'm not deep in this matter, but more or less, this is what Ghana is also offering. But at the end of the day, we have to charge. There are a lot of other layers that's not so clear how Afro descendants they can get. But one thing is the connection with the DNA. And Benin, well, what we spoke in, just to clarify that, at the UN, the Benin, because that is the Benin Republic, it's a country. Yes, and the issues that talked at the UN, it was Benin in Nigeria. It's a kind of area in Nigeria. They are completely different stuff.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it, Ambassador. Give me 1 second, Kojo. Also in the Madam Speaker, Maya Hadi, put some information in there as well. Kojo, go right ahead. Thank you. Your mic is closed, Kojo. Okay, there you go.
Okay, so let me give some clarity to that. During the peak of slavery, there was no specific name like Ghana, even Nigeria, Benin, and etc. The Sub-Saharan Africa, which became the slave coast, was structured into 8 territories. We had the Bight of Benin, the Bight of Biafra, we had Gold Coast, Windward Coast, Upper Guinea, Senegambia, West Central, and Southeast Africa. But due to the Berlin Conference, which happened around 1880s, which resulted in the partition of Africa, and that gave birth to colonization, we came to have the segregations or the separations of these countries. So we came to have Ghana as a republic, Benin as a republic, Nigeria as a republic, and etc. So one would ask, which countries today were made up of these territories as we are discussing? When you took off the Bight of Benin at that time, it represents the present-day Republic of Benin, the eastern part of Ghana, the western side of the Niger Delta, and Republic of Togo, which was one territory for them, with multiple tribes and with different languages. When you talk of the Bight of Benin and the Bight of Biafra, we also talk about multiple countries today. That is why anytime one does the DNA, when you have the ancestral
Kojo,
DNA,
excuse me. Kojo, excuse me. Michael, will you please close your mic? Hold on, I see it. Okay, sorry about that, Kojo. Go right ahead.
that is why anytime we do our DNA, whether ancestral DNA or the African ancestral DNA, especially with ancestral DNA, the result that sometimes we get are multiple African countries with different percentages showing up. For instance, one may do his or her DNA, the ancestral DNA, that you may see a Benin with a percentage, Ghana with a percentage, Ivory Coast with a percentage, or maybe Togo with a percentage. Why? Because we did not have those specific countries at the time. But due to the colonization, which brought about party of Africa, we see that now I am a Ghanaian. Ghana has its own republic, Benin has its own republic, Nigeria, etc. So sometimes among Africans themselves, African countries, sometimes everybody is trying to claim ownership of Afro-descendants. But at that time, you were all spread. So we all have to come together as one people to fight for that objective, just to clarify some of these issues. Thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you, Kojo. I appreciate that. So as we close, we want to move forward with clarity and purpose. So from today's discussion, which we focused on connection, collaboration, and action with some steps, practical steps that Kojo presented in terms of us and our collaboration and partnership, what the Afro Descendant Nation is or expecting from this part is that we, in our next steps, we decide what actionable step we would like to take. You as individuals, maybe you as a group of people, but it could be whether you're building a connection, whether you're sharing knowledge, or engaging more actively with us in this work and building the Afro Descendant Nation. So just give some thought to that. You can reach out to me with the email address that I put in the chat, and we'll continue to have these type of gatherings together. And to start increasing them, we need to start getting more out into the community as well. Being on the task force has connected me more to the community as well. So different opportunities that present themselves to you where you can see that you can get out there and present this information, please do so, because we need to help our people become aware that we're here and that we're Afro descendants, because America's not letting us know that we are, those of us who are here in America. Some of our brothers and sisters globally, they're more accepting than those of us here in the United States. So here in the United States, our minds have been totally pretty much brainwashed in terms of our identity because it was destroyed. And with that said, it takes some time, but we have to do a good job of being able to explain and educate our people on it in terms of why it's so important and why it's so important that we have an identity as a people, not just individually, but collectively, and one that connects us not only here in America, but connects us to our brothers and sisters globally. And that is our unity, the power of our unity. So we're going to continue to strengthen our global connections between us, Afro descendants, and Africans, and move toward a more unified future. And that is what Kojo was sharing as well. I want to thank you all so much for being here with us today, taking the time out of your day to be here. I appreciate your presence and your commitment in helping us to build our Afro Descendant Nation and to get the word out that we are Afro descendants and we are a people. Thank you. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Bye. Kojo, thanks so much. I'll call you shortly.
Thank you. Thank you.
Did you get my email, Dr. Keela?
Hold on.
Give me a second. I'll check.
Keela.
Give me 1 second. Let me
Okay,
answer Curtis, and I'll stay here with you.
Yes,
Thank you. Yes, sir. I have it, Curtis.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We can talk
Yes.
about it. Look at it.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. All right. Amatula?
Yes, ma'am. I wanted to get Kojo's information. You said you put it on the.
Oh, he put it in the chat.
He did. I'm
Yes.
trying to look for it right now. I don't.
Okay.
Well, once this is over, are you going to send out a copy of this to everyone of this video, a Zoom meeting?
I can do that. Hold on 1 second. We're still recording.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So what I can do is that I can share the
Okay.
information of their own heritage tours, that part of the information with
Oh, I
Dr.
see it. Oh, okay, I got it. 233. Okay, I got it.
You found
Okay,
it?
so
Okay.
my personal contact is there, yeah.
55152.
4182.
Okay, now do I need to give a invitation for this number?
Yes, you can. Yeah, that's my WhatsApp
WhatsApp.
number. Yeah,
I'm
WhatsApp
sorry.
number. Yes, my WhatsApp number.
Okay.
That's my WhatsApp number, yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, I will be coming there in Accra at the end of the month and beginning of
Oh,
June. So I definitely would like to meet with you. I will give you my information and we'll go from there.
thank you
Oh,
very
that's so
much. I appreciate
nice.
that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Awesome. All right. I'm going to end the call if we're all good.
8233
Yes.
551 Thank you.
You know what? I missed a few questions.
All right. Thank you all.
Look, you're welcome. Kojo, I missed a few questions. They were sent to me personally, so I didn't see these. I just realized they were here. Let's see. Please have. Looks like. Make sure. Please ask. What is the current state of comprehensive housing, education, healthcare, and social welfare? Is one of the questions. Wanted you to expound on that. And you know what? Actually, what you can do, what I'm going to do is take a picture of these, and then I'm going to share them with you, and you
Okay,
can answer them, and I can send them out, send it out,
that's good.
have it sent out. Okay. All right. And
That's
that
good.
way we'll have answered it. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything else before I close out. I think I have everything. Oh, I didn't see this one. Oh, no. Yes, I did. Okay. Wonderful. I think we have everything. All right. Have a great one, everybody. And thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.